Arlene Potash. I recall you saying the failed Ideal Org project was what helped you wake up. Are the current SO members not aware of how not thriving the church is? Wouldn't this be demoralizing? Yes, it would be demoralizing, which is why, as I mentioned earlier, the Sea Org makes every effort at information control to keep those Sea Org members in the dark. And it's not just what they keep away from the Sea Org members by censoring the internet or keeping them away from, newspapers and media and stuff, but also with what they do put in their heads. I should have mentioned this earlier here too, because you have all the events, and you also have the events are big for the public, the staff, and the Sea Org. Those are the big ones, and they do those things like, 7, 8 times a year. But you also have in the Sea Org the additional indoctrination that occurs on an almost daily basis with base briefings and the base musters. So you'll have, or the organization musters. So you'll have, in the Big Blue complex, you have like 5 or 6 different Scientology organizations on that base. And so each of them huddles up every day individually. They do their own musters and meetings and stuff like that. But also there's a weekly staff meeting where all the base crew come and get briefed on the latest and greatest. And OSA will brief, command personnel will brief, or lower org staff will, regular org staff will brief if there's something specific they need to be talking about. And often this is where there might be video briefings from management, or there might be news about coming up events and what's expected of everybody, and also briefings about PR stuff, like what kind of gains or motions are moving forward that Scientology is, trying to make inroads on, and all the fluff and everything that you see Scientology put out to the public, they do also internally PR all that stuff too. So the Sea Org really does think, for years I thought we were having great success in Colombia. We were expanding into Indonesia and Taiwan. We were moving in on Russia. China was maybe a possibility of getting into eventually. Japan was going great guns. Like there was all this motion happening. And of course, West US was leading the charge with the ideal orgs. And it was only after I got out into these orgs that I actually saw the truth of the matter. I mean, I saw statistically that the orgs were not doing so great back when I was in management. And I would go out to the orgs from time to time and I would see that they were not doing so great. But I was still under the impression at that point that it was only in the West US, or it was only in these tiny little orgs that things were not really so great. And look at our bigger orgs and they're doing well. And eventually we'll get all these little tiny podunk orgs up to the size of the big ones. And obviously, these other places that we see and hear about in the events, well, they're doing so great. So it was, it was only in our own backyard, I thought, that we were having problems, and Scientology was going great guns everywhere else. Well, once I got around to more orgs, and I also, after I did the RPF and got a real international view of Scientology from talking to all these RPFers who were from all over the world, because I was in Los Angeles, and that was the biggest RPF in the world, and they were sending everybody to it. So I kind of also got this, sort of world view of Scientology and found out that, no, it wasn't really going so great anywhere. And then when I went out again, after I finished that, then I saw the orgs in kind of a different light, and I just saw the whole ideal org thing and how they were opening, and there were all these people, and everything was supposed to be great, but actually it was just more smoke and mirrors and nonsense, and these orgs were not any better or brighter or wonderful than the podunk orgs, is really the situation. So that was the whole picture that kind of opened my eyes on that. And of course, that opened my eyes. It's going to open other Sea Org members' eyes too. And of course, it has in some ways. And we've heard that from some people who have left.